This is a Tesla Cybertruck.
And this is Donut Media not really knowing what they're talking about. Hey, my friends. So, we just spent 4,500 miles driving to Texas and back again for the eclipse. In the process of that, we spent 3 days in and around Moab, going to Canyonlands, going to Arches, going up into the La Salle Mountains, and also up into some other off-roady places. We've taken our Rivian R1T dual motor performance max pack off the beaten path. And so we have some really solid data on kind of how EV off-roading works and what sort of range one can expect. And so I was already going to do a video talking about this because it tends to be kind of an unknown. Like, everybody kind of knows what their highway mileage is, the EPA estimate, and what they actually get. But when you go off-road and you air down your tires and you're going slow, are you more efficient? Are you less efficient? Like, how does that impact things? And even more importantly, you're in the middle of freaking nowhere, and so help is a long ways away. And so it raises the range anxiety level, both for EVs and gasoline vehicles as well. I gotta say, you know, a big, tall Land Cruiser with a rooftop tent on top and mega tires, their range sucks too. That's why they have gas cans hung all over the damn things, is because they're just insanely bad. And in other parts of the world, right, in South Africa and Australia, whatever, you've got diesel versions of those vehicles that have tremendous range, and that is awesome. We don't tend to have that in California and America. We tend to have big gasoline, gas-guzzling V8s, and then lots of extra gas cans, or now EVs as well. So we're going to go ahead and talk about, well, maybe we're going to start about what is off-roading, but we're going to talk about our experience from Moab and what sort of range that we got in our Rivian R1T. And then we're going to pick apart this video from Donut Media. And to be clear, I love these guys. I'm a subscriber. I've got one of their t-shirts. You guys are great. You make very entertaining videos. But when you clearly don't really understand what you're talking about, and then you essentially unintentionally perhaps spread misinformation, maybe you talked about stuff that was important, but the editors edited it out. Because it was boring to have rational, good information. Or maybe, I don't know what the reason was. But basically, look, long story short, what they tried to do was impossible. And so, while it's an entertaining video, the comments are full of people like, EVs suck and whatever, where it was absolutely set up for failure from the very, very start. But let's rewind back. What is off-roading? So, one man's off-roading is another man's just like, I don't know, gravel driveway or something, right? So generally speaking, when us civilians who don't own, I don't know, tanks, when we talk about off-road versus on-road, that usually means off a paved road. Now, that being said, a well-groomed, hard-packed dirt or gravel road, you can zip along at 60 miles an hour. You have no need to like air down your tires. It essentially is almost like a paved road. And so I wouldn't count that. What I would count as off-road is if you do need to air down your tires for comfort or traction or just to not shake your teeth out as you're going over washboarding, and also drive slower, right? If you have a trail that you're kind of limited to like 10, 20 miles an hour and you've aired down your tires, so you really have committed to being on that trail. That's what we mean, essentially. That's what I mean, at least, when I say off-road. That being said, let's go ahead and go to Moab. So this was our route, starting out the Tesla Supercharger, working our way all the way to Lathrop Canyon and back again, with a side stop up the Schaefer switchbacks. I know the exact percentage of battery used along this route because we used an application called Electrify, which is like the nonpartisan version of Teslafy. You basically give it your credentials to, in this case, our Rivian, and it goes ahead and logs into Rivian's web servers and uses the API to suck out every drop of data possible and present it to you in this cool web format, which gives all sorts of wonderful information. So we can see we spent the night in Grand Junction. We drove down to Moab. We plugged in the charger here with about 30% state of charge. We charged up to 98.7% state of charge. In the max pack, that last 1% literally takes half an hour. So we weren't going to wait for that. But also, we were just having breakfast, right? We hit the Tesla charger, we used the Magic Dock and the application to use that. We hit the hotel next door for a bathroom break. And then Monica was actually making up breakfast and stuff. If you want to see more of Monica's insanely amazing camp kitchen setup. Both the actual camp kitchen that slides out of the gear tunnel, but also all her cooking gear and some meals she cooked and that kind of stuff. Go ahead and click up in the corner for a link to her video. It's a cool watch. Anyway, so we leave with essentially 99% state of charge, and we go rolling through our day here on the edge of Canyonlands. We essentially go off on a paved road here, relatively low speeds. We turn left in 279. Again, I think it's maybe 50 mile an hour speed limit, maybe 55, something like that. We go ahead and work our way along the Colorado River. The pavement ends right here at the Potash boat ramp. So right in here, we turn into a gravel road, and a very tame gravel road. We continue around here and on up to Elvis Rock, and this is where we air down our tires. There's a little bit of an uphill grade right here getting up to there, and so we went ahead and aired down, got some cool pictures and that kind of fun stuff. And really, you know, if you are adventurous, if you are daring, if you're willing to perhaps ding your Toyota Camry, you can totally drive this road. In fact, all the way up to Schaefer switchbacks. That's totally doable. It's not a super technical road. So we go along here next to the potash mine, up to the Thelma and Louise Point. This was really cool. Amazing views, and also kind of a cool shout out to an amazing movie. In fact, when we were planning out this trip, Monica hadn't seen this movie before, Thelma and Louise. So I'm like, dude, fired that up, showed it to her, you know, amazing stuff. And then to actually be there at that same spot and see this view of the Colorado River was really, really awesome. A better view, actually, in many ways, was Gooseneck Overlook. So we continued on up here, and actually right at this corner here, we actually backed up and then dropped the tailgate. So we're like dangling in the air, you know, still 15, 20 feet away from the precipice. But it was just an amazing spot to go ahead and stop and have some actually cold leftover pizza from the day before and have a snack and just enjoy these amazing views on the river here. After that, the trail gets a little more interesting as you start going uphill. And then you hit the fork in the road here with the White Rim Road meeting up with the Potash Road and the Schaefer Canyon Road. So then we drove up the Schaefer switchbacks, which are uphill more. They're a little more bumpy, but again, it's not crazy bad by any reach of the imagination. Amazing views and a lot of elevation gain, obviously, as you go crazy up these switchbacks. Now, coming back down, of course, we regenerate a lot of that energy spent going uphill. But it's not perfect. It's not anywhere close to perfect. If you have a flat trail, or if you can coast and not accelerate and then decelerate, that is always better. To not spend the energy in the first place is way better than spending it accelerating or climbing and then trying to recuperate some percentage of it, maybe half, maybe 2/3 on your deceleration or descent, right? So definitely we lose some efficiency by going up here and going back down again, no matter what condition the trail may be. We went up here to the visitor center, hit the toilets, talked to the ranger about where it would be good to go ahead and camp out that night. We actually had a day pass for the White Rim Trail, so we came back down. It was getting late in the day, honestly, but we went ahead and cruised along here. We went to, there was an overlook. Where was that? The Gooseneck Overlook. This was cool. This was super bumpy here, and we went on up to like the edge of these blocks here to go ahead and take some pictures. That was really cool. Then we came on down to the Musselman Arch, and then we continued on the White Rim Road. We saw on the map that there was Lathrop Canyon, which takes us all the way back down to the Colorado River. And this was an interesting trail. You hit here, and you go downhill in these little switchbacks down here. The pitch angle on the Rivian rated the maximum of 19 degrees, which is pretty damn steep. And very steep to come back up again. Then we go along the wash of the creek here for a while, some sandy bits, some rocky bits. It was an interesting drive down here all the way to the river. Stop here. There's actually a pit toilet down here, which amazes me. Some poor honey wagon driver has to come out here and empty that. I don't know how the hell he does that, or she. And basically then buggered out because the day was getting late. We wanted to find a camping spot. Came all the way back out, and we camped overnight, let's see, towards right here. This campfire ring was our spot for the night. We camped out here. The next morning, we went ahead and drove back out to the Tesla Supercharger to recharge. And then the following day, we actually went up to Arches. So that was a nice, concise off-road trip that we can do some math from. We have all the data required for this because, again, if we go back to Electrify, we have this whole day of adventure, and we went ahead and arrived and parked at our camp spot with 63.4%. We actually burned some power camping out that night, which I'm excluding. The next day, we go ahead and we can see we burned exactly 6% going from our campsite back to the Tesla supercharger. So we can add this up and do some math. All right, we started out with a 98.7% state of charge, ended our day with 63.4. That's 35.3% for basically a whole day of off-road trails. We then burned 6% the next day going out to the charger. Total 41.3% for 108 miles. If you do the math, we're talking 2.6 miles per percent. I'm not doing miles per kilowatt here because actual usable kilowatts is somewhat of a guarded secret. It's assumed to be roughly 145 for the Rivian R1T Max Pack, but nobody really knows. 2.61 multiplied by 100, 261 miles of range in this type of trail. So the Rivian R1T Max Pack with the all-season tires out of the box, EPA rated 410 miles. With the off-road tire package, the EPA range drops down to 355 miles. And then the real-world off-road with tires aired down to 40 PSI from, rated normally as 48 in that situation is 261 miles of range. So that gives us a good kind of data, a good starting point. And realistically, you want to save 10, 20% for a safety buffer. And so we have an off-road range of about 200 miles. What can that do for us? Can we do the White Rim Trail? Yes, we can. So here we are, 142 miles to start from the Tesla Supercharger, go all the way along, all the way around, and back out again. In fact, there's so much extra range here available. We could totally, instead of doing 313, we could come over and come down the Schaefer switchbacks. We probably could have range to go do Lathrop Canyon or other fun things. Easily, we should be able to do this whole loop with our Rivian R1T dual motor Max Pack with the off-road tire package. So let's go back to our video from the Donut team. And our first good data point from the Donut video is this Dillard's in the background here. And the reason why is we don't really know what state of charge they left home with. It could have been 100. It could have been something entirely different. As they were packing their vehicle and getting ready to go, it might easily have been less than 100. But here at Palmdale, they say they recharge to 100%. It gives us a firm data point. How do we know this is Palmdale? Well, look at that background and then check this out. So here we are, Tesla Supercharger. Here's the Dillards. Yeah, check that out. So there we go. We know the exact location of where they are. Now they drive all the way to Lone Pine, to the Supercharger in Lone Pine, and they tell us their state of charge when they arrive. Here we are going from the Palmdale Supercharger up to Lone Pine Supercharger, and this is 149 miles.
We're at 32% after an hour and 45 minute, 2-hour drive.
32%, right? And they're driving on the highway. They're driving on pavement, right? So they burned so much power going just 148 miles. They only got 2.17 miles per percent of their smaller battery than our Rivian, but still, again, nobody knows the exact usable capacity. Let's go by percentages. So their max range on pavement is only 217 miles. And if you look, you can see in the display of the truck in that video on the dashboard that the max state of charge is 316 miles. So they've already lost 100 miles of range just from the damn wheels and tires they put on the vehicle.
It's on bead locks, it's on 35s.
And to be fair, they may have been driving a wee bit too fast on Highway 395. That also has a huge impact on range. And they actually mentioned that in the video, that later on when they're trying to really hypermile it, they're trying to go slow. Good thing, and that's very, very important. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and talk a little more about their hypermiling techniques.
Everything you do in the truck uses more battery. So lights, music, cruise control, even navigation can drop that number. You know, all the things you use on a road trip.
You can't even open up the glove box without
Exactly.
No. The computer is on in your vehicle, running the vehicle. Using your navigation, using your radio, using even your lights does not really produce any significant amount of power drain. If you want to improve your mileage when on the road, it's really simple. Make sure your tire pressures are correct. Lower your suspension down as low as it can go to reduce the frontal area and wind resistance. Think about reducing the climate control load. That's why basically every EV has heated seats. And this was a cold weekend. Turn the heat down, guys. Turn it way or off. Wear a jacket. Turn on your heated seats. And last but not least, keep your speeds down. This advice that they suggest is really totally wrong. And no, the electronic latch on the glove box doesn't do shite. Although, maybe on the flip side, if you're completely out of power, well, then you're kind of screwed. Hell, the Cybertruck even has electric steering, which isn't going to work very well once you're dead. But that's a different story. Let's go back and talk about elevation. Another possible difference here is that Palmdale Supercharger Station is at 2,600 feet, whereas the Lone Pine is at 3,700 feet. So that's a gain of about 1,000 feet of elevation. This can have a really big deal, folks, and it's ignored in the video completely. So they go to Cerro Gordo, and essentially they're just going up and back again, and the mileage is nothing. But they're commenting...
All right, so we've driven 7 miles, and we've lost 8%.
Yeah, but they're going up to 8,500 feet, guys. That has a massive impact on your range, and you will get a lot of that back when you go back downhill. And so I guess we have to talk about how regen works, because this is completely wrong.
In order to regen, you have to slow down. So like here I am slowing down, I'm losing speed, but I am regenning very slowly. So it is really insane that it's more efficient in stop and go traffic than it would be on a long distance trip.
Going slower does not improve your regen. It may improve your efficiency within reasonable bounds, but regen is something entirely different. Regen is taking the energy of the vehicle in motion and reclaiming that using the electric motors as generators to pull energy back into the battery pack instead of using your brakes to slow down. This is useful when decelerating or descending from a higher elevation. It has nothing to do really with how fast or slow you're going. This comment from them, it absolutely hurts my brain, guys. Seriously.
Honestly, swear to God, our camera car is running out of gas and none of the gas pumps work.
This is funny because the exact same thing happened to us on one of our first Death Valley road trip when the national park just reopened after COVID. It was actually my birthday weekend. And I went out there with Monica and I, of course, in our Volvo XC60 plug-in hybrid, my brother and his family in his 4Runner. We had a fantastic time. We were actually staying down in Furnace Creek, and the gas prices in Furnace Creek are insane. They're like $10 a gallon. And we're like, nah, we saw some lower prices back at Stovepipe Wells. Let's go back there. And so we went back there, and we realized the prices were all super low because they hadn't changed them in months or maybe even dozens of months because there was no gas. And so then we had like 50 miles of range or something like that to either go back or get over to the Penman Springs Resort where they hopefully had gas. And so we had a major pucker factor, like driving at 50 miles an hour up this long, steep uphill up towards, I think it's Town Pass, towards Penman Springs. And then, again, because our XC60 is a plug-in hybrid, we could regenerate it was like 10 miles of range, 5 to 10 miles of range. We regenerated going downhill, burning 0 gas, earning extra 3 miles of electric range, getting down to Penman Springs. Total crazy pucker factor ranged anxiety moment. And, I got to point out that all vehicles have range anxiety situations, especially in a really, really big place like Death Valley. Tourists go out here and die on a regular basis because they just do not comprehend and respect the scale of Death Valley and the resources they need to stay safe. It's called Death Valley for a reason, folks. Go there with care. So from this screen grab, we can see they're at Stovepipe Wells, and that's where the gas station was closed. So, where are they going? They talked in the video about going to hot springs just over the mountain.
Zach's plan is to take us on a round trip of Death Valley, the 100-mile trip that should be in the Cybertruck's range. Because there's a hot spring on the other side of the mountain range.
Well, essentially, there's only one place that could be. Here we are in Lone Pine, and just over the mountain is right over here at the Saline Valley Warm Springs. An absolutely horrible place. Please do not ever go there, folks. It's terrible. In a normal situation, getting here is relatively straightforward. There's a north entrance. You go through Big Pine. You go through Big Pine right here. There's no charger there, but you can go through Big Pine. You go on the roads towards the Eureka Dunes, and you come sliding on here over the mountains down into this main Saline Valley. Secondarily, on the south route, you can come down here towards Pennant Springs. Right here, there's Silly Valley Alternate Road. You go ahead on in towards Hunter Mountain. You go through Leaf Flat here with all the Joshua trees. This is fantastic through here. We've camped out there. It's awesome. And you go ahead and hit this junction here, the Hunter Mountain Road, and you come in the South Pass here. If you just do that route, let's go ahead and take a look what the range looks like. So to go from Big Pine to Lone Pine to the cutoff here on the South Road entrance, this is just 78.5 miles. Now, how long is it on the off-road trail from here through the valley and on up out the North Pass and back to Big Pine? Well, Google won't actually trace this for you, but I can show you here. Check this out. So this is us in a video that we did many, many moons ago. We were 4 years younger in this video with our Volvo XC60 with a roof nest Falcon on top. We had a great time. And check out the sign, Big Pine 100 miles. So there you go. They could have gone from Lone Pine Charger around and back again in 180 miles. Could they have done that? Well, again, when we look at our spreadsheet math, right, they were only getting 217 miles of range on the highway with some unknowns, of course. Off-road, could they have done, 180? That's iffy. That's definitely iffy. And also, it's 100 miles of off-roading, which is exactly what they mentioned in the video. We're going to go do 100 miles of off-roading. But this was Easter weekend here in 2024, and there was a bunch of snow. There was a big storm that smacked Southern California.
Surprise, surprise. They got 4 inches of snow last night. Yeesh.
So I think they got locked out where basically both the North Pass and the South Pass were blocked, and they were trying to find an alternate route. That's why they went down to Stovepipe Wells. And so also in the video, they mentioned going to a racetrack. And there's only one racetrack in Death Valley. That is the racetrack. So let's go ahead and plot out some more mileage. So if you go all the way from the Tesla Supercharger in Lone Pine, over to Stovepipe Wells, on up to Ubahibe Crater, and down to Racetrack Playa, that's 153 miles. So you're looking at a 300 plus mile round trip already. That is impossible with their range. Absolutely, maybe if they did 50 miles an hour and totally drafted behind a big Land Cruiser, maybe they could loop that. But I mean, probably not. And again, they were not really considering elevation change, right? It is such a huge deal. So when you leave Lone Pine and you go over across the mountains and down to Pennant Springs and back up through town, is it Town Pass? It is Town Pass. 5,000 feet elevation. And then back down to Stovepipe Wells. Stovepipe Wells has an elevation of 10 feet, whereas Lone Pine is at almost 4,000 feet. Going down 4,000, almost a mile of elevation change is a huge amount of energy gain. And so they mentioned in their video, well, our mileage is looking great.
After we pulled off to the gas station, we noticed the Cybertruck actually gained back some charge.
Well, duh, because you were going downhill and you're going to have to go back uphill to get back to a charger because there's no charger here. Could they have instead gone to Beatty? There is a fast charger here. Yes, they could. No, they did not. So they're aiming for Racetrack Playa. And again, another reason why I know they're going here is because here in Ubahibe Crater, there's this black volcanic ash. Let's take a look at this. So right here, we have the black volcanic ash. We're looking north up Death Valley. You can see another stub of a road right here. Can we make it bigger? There's a stub of a road right here. What that is let's go back over to here. It's this Y right here. There's a one-way road through the ash field to go to the parking lot for Ubahibe Crater. And also there's a turnoff here to go to Racetrack Valley Road. So I think a bunch of their filming here, all the filming they did where you can see the black sand or black ash on or on the side of the road, that's all in this region. And they get yay far up. There's no footage of Tea Kettle Junction, which would have been an obvious filming location because that's totally cool. It's like the junction with the tea kettles all over it. It's kind of hilarious. So if they got there, I'm sure we would have seen it. I don't think they did. I think basically they bailed out somewhere on the uphill run here coming up out of Ubahibe Crater. This rise here, they bailed out. And another indication of them bailing out is the flatbed trailer they brought along. So here they are crossing Pennant Springs Valley. This is the right-hand turn to go to Trona. They're heading towards Death Valley. And look at that. They've got Land Cruisers, they got the Cybertruck, And they have a utility vehicle with a rooftop tent on top, extra gas, and a big flatbed trailer. A big dual axle flatbed trailer, probably strong enough to handle the Cybertruck. Let's go ahead and fast forward to Ubehebe Crater and the footage there.
Be positive and just give it a fair shot at off-roading and see how it does.
Yeah, give it a fair shot at off-roading. Yeah, look at that. There's the flatbed trailer. There it is on the side of the road. And again, we see the black sand of Ubehebe Crater region. So I think they dropped the trailer there, and that was their escape plan, right? Is to use the trailer if required to get out. But they mention a landslide blocked them from going to where they wanted to go.
The road we were planning on taking through Death Valley experienced a landslide, and it's completely washed out now. The only way to get to our destination now is to take an extended route, and we just don't have enough range for it.
There are two primary alternate routes into the Saline Valley if it is snowy. One is going here to Racetrack and going to Lippincott Pass. This is a narrow, unmaintained, off-road, steep, on the side of a mountain kind of pass. It's sketchy. Go there with a friend and go there with a real off-road vehicle. And my guess is their landslide problem was here. Then what do you do? So one option, which was not possible because of the snow, is you can actually detour out and go over Hunter Mountain and enter the south side without losing too much mileage. Not going to work. The other option is to come out north from Ubehebe Crater and go way up here past the Crater Sulfur Mine, go into Eureka Valley to the Eureka Dunes, go around Eureka Dunes, and go to Steel Pass. This is probably the lowest elevation entry point into Saline Valley. And actually, there's a big event at Warm Springs every year for President's Day weekend, which is really early in the year. And so oftentimes, if the passes are closed because of snow, the real off-roaders will sneak in through the Steel Pass to go in and get... But again, nobody goes there because it's a horrible place. Don't go there. So ultimately, they were doomed. They did not have the range. And let me go ahead and show you one more interesting screen grab. So here they are back at Stovepipe Wells, right? And they're all there for what it's worth. So the Land Cruisers didn't continue on without them. Here's the utility vehicle. Here's the trailer angled exactly with the Cybertruck. Either they are loading the Cybertruck onto the trailer, or they have just unloaded it from the trailer. One or the other. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here with this kind of donut media trailing end of this video is that, you know, maybe they had a decent plan to start with, but instead of modifying that plan to something realistic the vehicle could actually perhaps do, they just basically stuck to plan A and were like, oh well, you know, we've got an EV with limited range, strike one. We got big beefy show wheels on it, strike two. And now it snowed, strike three. So we're just going to drive until it runs out of power and put it on the flatbed. And woohoo, it's a video. Ha ha. You know, it feels like it's just clickbait for the anti-EV crowd as opposed to anything actually informative or interesting beyond basic entertainment. And that's disappointing, honestly. I think they could have done a hell of a lot better with this video. Also, a takeaway, you know, again, we did the math on our Rivian, and, you know, now I know, and you know, for what it's worth, I can get, you know, well over 200 miles of off-road range. So things like the Saline Valley, things like other off-road trails we're planning and going to go try out, we have a range estimate of what we can do realistically, and that's good to see. And then, you know, honestly, a takeaway, I'm not a big fan of the Cybertruck, honestly. Its range is significantly limited unless you have a highly hypothetical extra battery in the bed, which takes away your cargo space, takes away where you would put your spare tire. It has no spare tire unless you put it in the bed or put it on a trailer hitch or something like that. You know, there's a bunch of compromises when it comes to Cybertruck that I'm not really a fan. Honestly, if it were me and I had a bigger garage, I'd be looking at the new Silverados. Those things are freaking awesome. We actually saw some while we were on this big road trip. Maybe I should close out with this little video clip. While we were on the road trip, we were in, I think it was Green River, and we pulled into the EA station, and the chargers were all freaking taken. One was broken. 3 were taken by this testing crew from Chevy. They had 3 Silverados. They were doing some sort of software update test, and so they were driving around testing out whatever the hell they were doing. And so Monica and I were like checking them out, and she was impressed. She thought that was awesome. And I pointed out to her, you know, that back wall of the cab, it actually folds down. And so if you had like an awesome camper shell that like clipped on the back and allowed easy access from the cab into the camper space, that would be like the ultimate like self-contained overlanding stealth camper ever. That's freaking awesome. That will not fit in my garage, but who knows? Maybe someday. Maybe someday. What if you have an electric truck? Which one do you have? Please post in the comments below. Or if you're thinking about an electric truck, or if you're not, which one fascinates you the most? Which one is the most interesting to you? Please post in the comments down below. I'd be curious to see kind of where the groupthink is going. Thank you for watching. As always, please like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Thanks a lot. Take care.